Okay. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? I'm Kiara, and I'm the education manager on the NSD for ISAC in the United States. This is actually like my first video, so I hope that it works out. Hope not to run into like any problems, but welcome to the webinar on how to implement the education cycle and the membership journey. So I'm going to start sharing my screen so you can see all the tools that I'm using. So this is it. And first of all, why is it important to implement the education cycle and the membership journey? So starting with the membership journey, this is actually one of MC Apollo's projects for the year that they really care about implementing. And the reason is that we really want to ensure that everyone who joins ISAC really goes through the experience that they're supposed to go through, because the truth is, a lot of us have had a really, really good ISAC experience, but there are also members who may have left early or who may not have like reached their full potential in the organization because they weren't receiving some of the basic things that we expect in an ISAC experience. So the reason why we decided to streamline that was exactly for this, so that everyone who joins the organization is at least receiving the same set of like elements during their experience. And then we could also add on to it later, but at least everyone has that. And then for education cycle, I'm also going to reiterate this when we talk about the actual education cycle, but the reason why this is important is that we want to make sure that everyone in the plenary in the United States really first of all, like the knowledge to be in the organization, but also the knowledge to be productive member of their team. And the other reason was that, we don't have, being like a very large entity, we don't have very many national touch points. And what the MC really wants is that, when we have those touch points, for example, ROCS, SNC, or WNC, that members are at least educated so that we don't have like a big knowledge gap within the plenary. And then the sessions are actually beneficial to everyone in the room. So this is the link in which you can through which you can access all the tools that I'm going to be talking about. I hope that this will take probably like the next 10 minutes. I'm not trying to make this too long, but if you click on it, it will take you to this folder, which is called TM Network 1718. And you're going to have viewing access to all these tools. So my suggestion is that you make copies of all of these and you save them to your own drive. We'll start with the membership journey really fast, and I'm going to zoom this in a little bit so that you can see this better. But membership journey is a very, very straightforward, it's almost like a checklist, but okay, one more. And as you guys can see this here, why of the membership journey and the education minimum is to ensure that all new members are educated on the same topics and that each new member is equipped with the knowledge to perform their job description and to be productive. So I'm going to go over what are the 7 steps of the membership journey. So this is the minimum. All the members of ISAC US need all of these phases. And so it starts with induction. This refers to the organizational induction. So this is when you've recently recruited a whole bunch of newbies, and you invite them to this either half day or full day or however many hours you need for this event. And that's like the first touch point that they have with the LC. So they get to know the old members, and like they get to know, what organization have I just joined, what am I going to be doing, and why should I care about the things that ISAC does. And we'll go a little bit more on how to deliver this in the next session. So step 2 is their functional induction. This is where they get to know their VP, their teammates, they're going to get their job description, and they're going to be trained on everything that they need to know to start doing, work as a member. The third step is ROCS. ROCS, as you guys know, is the regional kickoff seminar, and it's divided into different regions. So this is the first touch point that a newbie has with the network. It's going to increase the knowledge that they already have. So basically just like, yes, deepen their knowledge, and also be able to, you know, ask questions, get to know what the national direction is, and things such as that. And then pay like particular attention to, because this didn't exist before, but it's something that at the summit we really thought that could benefit to basically decrease the knowledge gap even more. And this is the functional assessment. So this is something that I believe is still in the works, but it will come out soon, definitely before ROCS. Assessment is to be given 1 week after ROCS. So depending on your region, it may be in the end of September, on the first week of October. But basically, this is an assessment that members will take to assess how much they know about ISAC and how much they know about their functions. So this is going to look differently for all the different functions, but a test. More so, it's a way for the VP of each function to really know, like, you know, what are my members lacking knowledge in, and then they can actually adjust all of their training and all their training sessions to compensate for like what the members don't know. Number 5, also very crucial to the ISAC experience, is personal goal setting. And we actually have a tool that I will present later about us that will allow VPs to have really good one-on-ones with their members where they can help set their personal goals. And then LCMs and FTMs, you guys probably, already know this, but these are spaces that are required for members to attend, and they will also be places in which the VP will, or the TL, whoever delivers education, will train them on just like additional topics that are needed throughout the year. And then lastly, this is again, sorry about that. This is again something new, number 7, applying for leadership. We really thought that just like looking through the experience of many people in ISAC United States, a lot of people, when they get elected for a new leadership position, they receive pretty good training on like the functional stuff. So let's say you were just been elected to be the new VP OGV for the year 1819. So most newly elected VPs receive a lot of the functional knowledge. So how to use EXPA, the product, the customer flow, and things like that. But we found that what many of them were lacking, was actually being trained on leadership. And for example, how to conduct good meetings, how to lead your team, how to set a vision. And so we actually created a checklist of topics that a newly elected leader needs to be trained on. And then at the end, they're going to receive a certificate that shows that they've been through this, I believe it's a 4-week program. So that's that. If there are any questions, these are the contacts of the NST education team. So you guys can either reach out to Ola, you can reach out to me, or you can reach out to Hakeem, who is in Egypt, but he is super helpful as well. So I'm going to quickly show you guys what the general induction agenda is. Why did we create this? Because all 40 LCs are going to, within the next week or within the next week to 3 weeks, are going to be doing their organizational induction. And so we really wanted to provide a tool where people could, come and get ideas, or at least maybe compare their own induction agenda to see if it at least includes all the minimum criteria. And so so this is an example. I'm going to go over the one on the right, but this is just a sample agenda that includes all the basics things that a newbie needs to know when they first join ISAC. So let's say that this event starts at 9:30. You would have a welcoming session where either the LCP or the EB together just introduce themselves and do some kind of icebreakers to just make everyone feel comfortable and make sure that people are starting to get to know each other. First thing, just very typical, probably every induction starts out like this, is just history of ISIC and the ISIC way just session, followed by what is the LDM. We really need to hone down. You did not join any organization. You did not join an exchange organization. You did not join like a business organization. You joined a leadership development organization. So as members, you guys are here to develop your own leadership. And because that's our value proposition, you really need to tell them, how are you going to help them do that? And then you tell them this. You show them that they're going to have to be going through, the team standards with their team, which will allow them to experience the inner and outer journey. And then finally develop the 4 leadership qualities: solution-oriented, world citizen, empowering others, and self-aware. You can follow this just by a small break, because usually this session is pretty intense and it could be exhausting for someone who has never heard of these things before. You then want to have, at some point in the day, a session on just, what's the external relevance of ISIC, and introduce them to ISIC 2020. ISIC 2020 is actually super, super important. It isn't something that you guys, that's just kind of extra. These members are joining ISIC, but they're not just joining ISIC, they're joining ISIC right now. And for all the generations that have joined ISIC between 2015 and 2020, they're not just part of ISIC, but they're part of this larger vision, which is ISIC 2020. So you really want to explain to them, what is the vision? What is the national and international direction that ISIC is trying to take for 2020 in order to have more impact in the world? And then it's also good to do to have at least a small showcasing session during induction. And how you would do this is you would have maybe either a member who went on an IXB or just had a really good ISIC experience, and then you can even bring in an alum that you guys can reach within your city and invite them to just share about their experience. Because one of the things that this does is it actually personifies all the things that we say that they're going to develop. So they're going to see, this person actually went through an ISIC experience and they developed this, this, and this. And the reason why it's also really cool to bring in alumni is a lot of actually ISIC alumni end up having really cool career paths in their life. So it's kind of to show, well, you just joined this organization and you don't really know what's happening or what you're doing with your life necessarily, or that's how a lot of ISICers, I think, start out. But it kind of it allows them to see that ISIC and the ISIC network truly does open up so many opportunities for things to do later. Don't forget to have a session on ISIC culture where you can teach them about the acronyms, the shouts that we have, the roll calls, and things like that. Lunch and other important things to cover before the end of the induction is, what are the products? So explain them about GV, GT, and GE, both incoming and outgoing. And just who are the different stakeholders? Who are the national partners? Which countries do we work with? Then you would do a functional breakout in which the members get to meet their team and have a team space. Ideally, they would do a get to know each other activity. And the other really important things, everybody needs to get onto Expa. I believe now it should be much easier. Literally all the VP has to do is just click invite somebody by email. And then they just, need to talk about what's the semester going to look like, get everybody's availability so that they can, schedule their first functional induction as well as just the FDMs for the semester. And yeah, in the end, just 2 more things. One, talk about logistics. So just explain to them, you just joined ISIC, so what does that mean? What does that mean for your time commitment? What does the next month look like? What are you going to be doing? And then take this last part to get them. So definitely ask them to bring their computers. I forgot to mention that in the beginning, but have them take the LDA, just because we just told them, we're all about leadership development and we want you to develop qualities A, B, C, and D, and blah, 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 and you're going to achieve that. So this is how you show them, we really take this seriously. So you make them take the assessment, and, you can even have them discuss, with their partner or with the person sitting next to them, which one was the quality that they were ranked the highest in or the lowest in, and that's really going to help them with their personal goal setting, whether you decide to do that at induction itself or through a one-on-one. And then just, yeah, closing. Oh, sorry. Anyways, after this, I just want to show you guys, so that was the general agenda. This is a very, very specific agenda. So these are all the sessions that you guys just saw. In that color are like over here. And here you can find very different, like more detail, like how long should you spend on this, who ideally would facilitate it, what's like the outcome, how should members feel after receiving that session, and so on. And then if you click on here on the notes section, we also provided like some examples for like what are like some activities that you can do in order to like kind of just make that session more interesting. Okay, so this is it for agenda. Okay, I'm going to try to get the next part a little bit faster. Okay, there you go. So now I'm going to talk about what are the education minimums. Education minimums is a set of topics that all members need to be trained on in order to be in ISEC and in order to be in their function. So what happened in the TM Summit 2 weekends ago was that we sat with the MCVPs of the exchange functions and we asked them, you know, what are all the things that the members need to know and by when? So the by when is super important. As you can see, IGB and IGT, they all start out with the same general knowledge. And that's just stuff that you guys should probably just cover like very early on, not at rocks, but at your organizational induction. So basically it's divided into by type. So general information, you guys can see this. And as you can see, it says by when should this be delivered? By rocks. And then you have, you know, other different types of topics that members need to be trained on. So for example, you know, just like the purpose and essence of their function. Why do we do IGV? Why is this a product? What's the history? What's Y4GG? And then what is the impact? And these are, again, also things that need to be done at their function induction, which does need to happen before rocks, because otherwise they would come to rocks having no idea like what they're even doing. And you know, you just go through with this and you see all these different topics. And I know it looks like a very long list, but honestly, a lot of these can be combined into like one session. You can probably do like 5 things, you know, 5 to 10 of these in probably like a 1-hour session. And the other thing that I need to mention is you guys as VPTMs are not responsible for delivering these sessions, but you are responsible for sharing this tool with your VPs of exchange and sitting down and actually creating a timeline with them where you can when we can keep them accountable and you can show them and you can ask them, you know, like, okay, all this stuff that needs to be done by rocks, when are you going to do it? And all the stuff that needs to be done, you know, before you get like before a member has to deal with like their first EP, and then you go over it with them. So help them create a timeline so that they can really implement this and follow through. And as the NST, me and Hakeem will also follow up with you guys on, you know, all these things being delivered. So that was that. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the one-on-one template. So the idea is that, so some of you may be the ones that are having one-on-ones with your members, and that's fine, but this tool is meant for the VPs to really engage with their members. And the thing is, in the past, like a lot of VPs were very like, for exchange, we're very focused on, you know, just hitting the numbers and making sure that their members met the KPIs. And then TM kind of came in and actually asked them about the experience they were having. But the idea is that we want to empower VPs of exchange to actually be that person, because if they show like that they're concerned about their members and they actually take the time to do a one-on-one, first of all, it's part of the team standards. So in order to be team leaders, like they're supposed to be doing that anyway. But the other thing is that it really helps, you know, create like a stronger bond between them and a higher level of trust between the member and their VP. So this is a one-on-one tool. What you guys need to do, well, this is something you train VPs on. You don't actually do this yourself, but so this is what you want to share with them. So for each member, they need to as however many members they have, and then they need to fill in any information that is in italics, as I will show. It's going to be on these tabs. And yeah, so before actually starting, we thought that, it would be helpful to just have a couple guiding questions where you don't just start with like the goals, but you just ask them member generally like how they're feeling, and just kind of check in with them so that it doesn't seem like too like sudden or too serious. Just like make them feel comfortable. And so the one-on-ones are divided into 3. Within one semester, we thought that at least 3 one-on-ones should be had, one in the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end of the semester. So EOS stands for end of semester. So the VP sits down with the member. This may even actually be before their functional induction or before, that's really distracting. Sorry about that. So we're gonna, basically the VP will sit down with their member and ask them, what are some goals that you want to achieve this semester? And they don't necessarily have to be related to ISEC. It could be something like, I want to improve my self-confidence, or I want to become a better public speaker, or I want to be better at organizing my time. So you sit down and you write these goals, and then you ask them, what are some things that you can do in your life, in your everyday life, to get you closer to this goal? And then you bring it back to ISEC and you ask them, what kinds of things can you do in your function or in the organization that will actually allow you to get closer to your goal? So 1 to 3 goals is good. You also ask them what their functional goal is. That's just how many like exchanges they would want to commit themselves to achieving. And then put here their LDA results. So put their score for all the 4 leadership qualities. And that's really good to actually guide them to making their personal goals. Would be, there are different like personal goals that like people can set for themselves, but if they're related to the 4 qualities, that would be also even better for ISEC. The middle one-on-one, so this should probably be had like about a month and a half after the first one-on-one. This is a really cool thing that we came up with, and so the VP is actually supposed to do fill this in before the one-on-one. So what are they supposed to do? So they're supposed to essentially fill this in, fill in 1 to 3 strengths that they've noticed in the member, and then 1 to 3 developmental opportunities, but also just known as weaknesses for the member. And then also talk about like when did the person actually show these qualities, and then what can they do to either further develop their strength or to improve or overcome a weakness. And honestly, don't just say, okay, we're going to sit down and I'm going to tell you about your strengths and weaknesses. Definitely ask them first, what do you think your own weaknesses and strengths have been for the past month and a half. And yeah, and then you talk about this with them, and you talk about and as a VP, you talk to them about what you've noticed. And I think this is a really good way to show not only, that we take leadership development very seriously, but that the VP actually has interest in their members, and that the members are not just expected to just, quote unquote, like develop and figure it out all on their own, but the VP is actually taking interest in the leadership development of their members, which is super important. And lastly, end of semester one-on-one, you fill this in, the VP filling, what are the areas that they improved in, and how they can continue to improve. And then again, same thing as for the middle one. What are some developmental opportunities? What are some examples, and what are some things that the member can continue to do in order to improve? again, you ask them what's been the progress on your personal goal and your functional goal, as well as on the LDA. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that members are supposed to take the LDA 2 times during the semester. So they would take it again, and then you can go ahead and compare their scores from the beginning of semester to the end of the semester, where hopefully in the second one they received higher scores. And that's it. So this is it. This is a tool for the one-on-ones, and just bringing it back. What we talked about was first the membership journey. Then we talked about the agenda for the organizational induction. We talked about education minimums, and lastly the one-on-one template. So I'm just going to show you one more time the contacts, the information if you guys need if you guys have any questions. These are the phone numbers, and these are the ISAC emails that you guys can reach us at. So thank you guys so much for participating in this, and I hope it was helpful. I hope it wasn't too long, but yeah, just let me know if you guys have any questions. And I'm just trying to figure out how to close this. There.